everyone, this is Diaz. Diaz is Dante's half sister. Same mum, Ducata, different dad. Her dad's Danone. She's 5 years old now. And Diaz had a tumour on her face, just here. And it was attached to her tooth root. So 2 years ago now, she had it removed, surgically removed at Liphook Equine Hospital. It was a very rare procedure and we're hoping that it's been successful. I've left her to just grow in the field and mature and just see if it was going to settle down, because she's got significant scar tissue within her face into the cavity that was left behind. I just wanted to make sure there were no adverse effects following on from it before we tried to do anything with her. Just if we even do a little bit of in-hand stuff together, see how it goes. I may ride her if she's able to be ridden. She can always go bitless if needs be. Anyway, that's the story of Diaz. Hope you enjoy joining us now on her adventures, learning some stuff in hand. My aim with this is to initially get her used to leaving the herd and learn to have a little bit of independence, but also look to me for leadership. Good girl. And I'm starting to introduce the cues of how to behave in hand, how to follow my lead. If I stop walking, she stops walking. She always stays just that little bit behind my shoulder, so I'm leading her. And initially I would need to use firm half halt like there, maybe even a bit of pressure on the point of her shoulder, ask her to move back. Good girl. But ultimately I then want her just following my movements. So if I walk, she walks. I stop, she stops. Eventually it becomes like a thought or nuance that you decide you're going to turn right and they just instinctively know from the slightest indication from you. Let's see if we can get her to follow my lead as we go into a halt. And I'm going to use some voice commands as well to get her ready for long lining. And Diaz, and stand. Good girl. Good girl. So it's beautifully done there. She listened to the fact that I had first of all used her name to get her attention. Obviously horses don't speak English, German, whatever, but they do recognise your tone and learn to recognise you're using their name. And Diaz, and stand. Good girl. So just to prove it wasn't a complete fluke. Good girl. This is our second walk out. We took her out yesterday. Oh, come here, Mrs. I did the same route yesterday. This is a route where she has lived before. So previously she's lived in the fields that are to our left. And she's familiar with this territory. We've got cows out in the field the other side of the river. She saw those yesterday and got a little bit spicy. But she is a very sane, nice person to deal with and reasonable, aren't you? That's good girl. So I don't always treat her for good responses. Sometimes just praise is enough. And there are some horses that I definitely wouldn't use treats with. Horses that just start to mob you and get bitey and rude is not acceptable behaviour to me, and I would avoid treats with those. But this is a really sweet horse with a lovely temperament. Now I'm confident that she's relaxed, she's licking and chewing. She's looking to me all the time for stuff rather than really ultra alert about her surroundings, and that's what I was waiting for, that little sneeze out, really really shows me that she's starting to relax, truly relax. And this is great because this is the area yesterday where she was really a little more anxious. So it's nice to know that day 2 coming out, some things that she found a little bit more challenging yesterday, today she is fine. She's a quick learner. Huh? Oh, we're going to do another halt because she's taking over. Good girl. She just started to push into my space. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. And I need her to know that at all times I am in charge. Good girl. So this is here. You can just see in her eye a little bit more of a change in personality. And she has got sometimes a slightly different side where she can get a little bit of a madam. It's very rare. And I think it's almost gone now. She was like it a lot when she was younger. It does help that she lives out with 2 other horses and she's the lowest in the pecking order. So she's used to being told what to do by leading horses. Good girl. I'm going to make a fuss of her because she's responding well when I ask her to go back. But in a minute, I want her to actually stay behind me. Good girl. And that's much better. She's followed what I was indicating, much gentler that time. Good girl. Oh, the good girl. Now, when they spook like that, it's impossible for you not to react. Of course, you're going to maybe slightly jump too. But what's important then is that you just stay really, really calm. Good girl. Having had the little jump and your own heart is racing. Good girl. Good girl. Just some stuff in the hedges. But if I now sort of start going, oh there, or getting a bit nervous and anxious myself, she again is going to say, well, I'm right, there's something to be scared of because you are as well. She's not going to think, oh, you're reacting like that because of my reactions. Good girl. Now, there is no lion in the bush about to eat you. So yeah, just if you need to, do some deep belly, balloon breathing. Sometimes they'll follow your cue with that as well. You can sync your own very slow, deep, relaxed breathing and get them to sync with that. Good girl. Because they do pick up on absolutely everything, of course. Good girl. Now this might seem a little bit tedious that I have to keep stopping and asking her to wait, calm down, or step back. But in the long run, it will save so much hassle and time. Because horses learn from repetition and you have to be consistent. I believe, particularly with a horse like this, in just being firm but really calm and really kind. She's not a bargy, bolshy, older horse that's just learnt to be really rude, maybe needs slightly firmer handling. She's a sweet, young, sensitive mare. So we're just going to take our time. Good girl. Now we've got a lovely walk up here now through the bluebells. Beautiful, stunning time of year in this little bit here. This isn't somewhere she's lived before. This is coming away from territory that she's used to seeing. But we did come here yesterday, so this is the second time we've been up here. Good girl. Now into the woods, there's some more challenges you may not have thought of. Some of the obvious things are like twigs on the floor. As she treads on those, they make a cracking sound. And that could spook or frighten or startle some horses. Good girl. No, that's quite rude. Good girl. Good. And light into dark, and here you've got the sun that's shining through the trees and creating lots and lots of different shapes on the ground, lots of shadows and bright patches. And again, she's probably a sensible young horse as you're going to get, but some will find those sorts of things really challenging. Dante is a classic example of that. Walking on, and Diaz, and stand. Good girl. So again, just checking that that still works, even in a situation where we're not now somewhere she's familiar with. And also, I don't know if you heard, one of her field companions just whinnied, and we are literally the other side of the trees is her field, and she'll know that. She's not silly, even though she's never been here before, apart from yesterday. Good girl, back up. No, now that's rude, you're mobbing me. Good girl. Remember, firm, fair and consistent. Okay, Diaz, walking on, and Diaz, and stand. Now, okay, she listened, but she had already taken over, so I'm not going to reward that. No, and we're going to have a little bit of reinforcement that you don't get one every time. Good girl. Walking on, and Diaz, and stand. Good girl. And back a little bit. Good girl. Ooh. Good girl. Good girl. Now here we've just got this tree trunk down there that she was a little bit worried about yesterday. So I'm just taking our time here. Good girl. And we're going to turn around. Always turn the horse away from me. So never turn the horse into you. They should always be out of your space and thinking about moving away from you, not towards you. Good girl. Good girl. Nicely done. Walking on. Listen. Walking on. And Diaz. And stand. She's responding. She's doing what I'm asking, but it's just not well enough for my liking. I know she can do better. We're going downhill here, so that will compromise her balance a little bit, and she may find it harder to halt when I ask her, so I'm going to give her plenty of chance. Diaz, listen, and stand, without then coming into my space. Even with her head, she shouldn't come over and into my space. We're going to have our big circle, an imaginary circle around me, that she needs to stay out of, unless I invite her into it. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Walking on. And stand. Good girl. Good girl. That's good girl. Staying out of my circle. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. I want to get to the point that I can walk her with a slight loop in the lead. I don't want to be tightly holding her ever. So it's always there ready, but essentially not doing anything unless it needs to. But that requires for her to be patiently walking and following me. Good girl. Walk on. Good girl. And there I can just hold it nice and relaxed. She's lowering her head, and there you go, there's that lovely relaxation in the snorting, and taking over again. Good girl. You just got to be consistent. Again, a field friend calling to her there. Good girl. So it's nice that she's just stayed completely relaxed, and for me that time she just took no notice at all of them and stayed completely focused on us, which is great, because that's what it's about. It's about her and me spending time together. Good girl. It's suddenly got very windy, hasn't it? Good girl. And good girl. Just really like the look of relaxation in her eye then. If you want it to be that they're relaxing, not what we call learned helplessness. We talk about animals that are treated badly and really bullied into submission beyond that which is acceptable, and that becomes learned helplessness. that then creates a horse that's very dull in its temperament, very sour, and they're just not happy bunnies at all. So there's a big difference between submission, leadership, respecting leadership, and a horse that's just lost the will, really. So that's just my thought on that. Well, I really hope you've enjoyed coming for a walk with us today and meeting the lovely Diaz. And if you have liked our video today, please hit that like and subscribe button. Share the video with your friends, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for watching. Always a good girl. Good girl.